Hi, it's been a while since I've done any videos, and the latest project is a Thunder Tiger Neptune SB1, which I picked up off eBay recently. I have given this sub a quick go in the local lake, and for the few minutes that it went, I was most impressed. However, it started glitching and it went to the bottom, and luckily I had it quite near the side and I had to go and get it. Anyway, since then the sub has been stripped right down and I've been getting to grips with the gubbins. While I was at it, I've made one or two small modifications. The first thing is that the sub actually comes with a 12-volt battery. If I put it in here, here we go, and I don't think that this is the original battery that came with it, but it's kind of equivalent, the same size. So it's a 2.3 lead acid battery, and it weighs exactly 1 kilo. I did decide from the outset that I thought I'd prefer to convert over to nickel metal hydride. The main reason being that I'm really not that familiar with the lead acid batteries and they take quite a long time to charge. So what I did instead was I put in a 3.7 10-cell NiMH battery. I'll just show you that in the sub because it's kind of not easy to get in and out. There we go, hopefully you can see it in there. And what I did was I made a tray out of a piece of plastic that came with like an 18th scale like die-cast metal car. Just used the centre bit to make a tray, and you use some duct tape to tape the 10-cell battery down. And then what I've got in the front here is I've got some lead which I also duct tape down. I didn't quite replace the same weight, because what I'm hoping to do is on the front of the sub put one of the GoPro cameras, the little session camera, and yeah, probably use this case here, and it will just sit on the front inside the glass dome, which allow me to film underwater. One of the things with these subs is that being that they go underwater, you can't use the 2.4 gigahertz radio because it just won't penetrate water. I know that in the later version of this, which is called the Seawolf, what they've done is they have a cable going up to a buoy, but I'm not really terribly interested in going down that route. I'm quite happy to switch my camera on and see what comes up. I've been quite impressed with the way that the thing works. It's got a number of fail-safes in it, so if it loses radio signal, it will return to the surface. If the battery gets low, it'll return to the surface. So it's some good safety features in it. One thing that I did struggle with was finding a source of parts, and fortunately there is kind of one website which seems to sell them, and they actually had a number of the parts which I'll come on to in a moment, and the place is Rubicon. Hopefully you can see that on the screen though. This is the package that came within about 3 or 4 days of ordering, and parts were a very reasonable price, so I was quite impressed with that. I'm using a few just basic Futaba F14 set. I've got a couple of these, and in terms of controls, you've got your elevator, I would call it aileron or rudder steering, on this side here. Over here, conventionally what you would have is you would have your sinking or raising of the boat on the left and right, and then the up and down here would be your proportional forward and reverse. I found when I was using the sub, I didn't really like that too much, because I found myself wandering over, and what I've done is I've just stuck a switch up here, so that will be to sink the ship and that will be to raise it. And the way the way that works is using the ballast underneath. You kind of get the thing when it's at its most buoyant, with the with the top just above the surface. And this thing here, which is kind of like a hot water bottle, there's a pump here, and what it does is it fills with water, which makes it less buoyant, and then the thing will sink. And once it's kind of neutral weight, you can use the planes to get the sub to go up, down, left and right, etc. It's very impressive under the water. When I took it to bits, a couple of things. First of all, I noticed that one or two of the seals were slightly worn, so I was able to get replacement seals from Rubicon. They were ridiculously cheap, something like €1.90, and this is a set of the inner seals. So that's the PJ 6162, and these are the fatter ones which go on the end of the clear tube, and then these ones here, which are the PJ 161s. These are the ones which seal the clear perspex ends onto the tube. Okay, now another modification which I thought I would do at the same time is the sub comes with this 3-braided, I think it's brass prop, and I really fancied one with more blades on it, so I've gone for one here. If I can remember what the make is, I'll put it in the notes underneath the video. This is a 6-bladed prop. I much prefer the look of it. One of the problems was when I got it, I don't know what you call this, the domey part here actually meant that it fouled inside. It was too long, so I just popped this onto an M4 bolt with some nuts, put it in the lathe, and took off this end bit here. So now we've got plenty of room. And what I also did was I got an M4 shaft, so that I could put this onto the end of it, because the shaft that comes with it is a plain shaft, and you actually use the grub screw there to put it on with, so hopefully that will be okay. Something really annoying, when I was taking it to bits, I actually managed to lose quite an important part, and this here, this PJ114, is the drive shaft set, which includes, if you'll see, you can possibly see here, a little dog bone, which I searched high and low and I could not find. So what I'm doing is I'm just using this little plastic tray here to make sure I keep all the parts safe. So while I'm at it now, I'll just pop those into one of the holders. There we go. I won't be losing that again. Now, while I've been messing around the boat, for some reason, and this might have been part of the reason why this sub was failing, was that this motor here, the motor which came with it, which is actually it's a 550 motor, but the numbers denominated here, 555, actually indicate that it's a motor with 5 poles on it, which means that it's quite low speed, high torque, not drawing a great deal of current, but very powerful. I did send off for a 550 motor, and I got this, the Mtroniks Power M600, not terribly expensive, but as soon as I wired it up, I realised that it will be wrong for this sub where it's direct drive. Much too fast a motor, drawing far too many amps, running much too hot, I expect. And in terms of what I read about this particular motor, it's not suitable for the sub, and it's not going in. It only cost me a tenner, and I'm sure that I'll be able to find something else for it. The motor which I have got, and I had to import this on eBay from America, it's a Makabuchi, and it says Makabuchi 3N, you see there, and it is a 550 motor with 5 turns, so it's a 555 motor, and it turns at very low revs. When I've tested it, if you set the motor going, it's almost impossible to hold the shaft. It's so powerful, but when you run out to full speed, it's not going terribly fast either. What I did was I took these capacitors off the original Thunder Tiger motor that was in there. Bit of suppression, so hopefully we won't get radio interference. Okay, so having taken it to bits, and all the parts have now turned up, it's time to put the thing together. Now, one of the first things that I did when I got the sub was I downloaded the PDF file. I think it was from the Thunder Tiger website with the instructions for building the sub. It doesn't give you the part numbers, but it tells you pretty well everything that you'd want to know, and make sure that you get the right size nuts and bolts in the right place, etc. Now, the first job which I need to do while I'm reassembling it is to adjust the nuts on the frame here. Right, I've got all of those to right now. Now, each of the O-rings which goes here on the inside of these end bits, each of them was actually a bit split. So I've got the new ones, which are here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that when I put them on, that first of all that I don't over tighten, but probably more importantly than that, I do them in a kind of pattern gradually, because that way we're far less likely to cause damage to these seals. The fact that they were only €1.90, i.e. probably about £1.20 for the pair, isn't the point. I'm not necessarily confident that I'd be able to get them forever, so I've cleaned around inside with some alcohol and just seating that in there nicely. Then I'll do the same thing with the other one. And that seems to be okay. Right, while we're at this end of things, there's just a couple of other things to mention. I changed the speedo out for it, because the one which came for it, I just grab that. Here we go. It's an Ace RC Veloci RSM. When I looked up the spec for this, it seemed to be rated at 9.6 volts, and the sub runs on 12 volts. And I've tried to eliminate everything which I think could have been causing the sub to shut down. It would come back when I turned the transmitter on and off, but that really wasn't good enough. Something was tripping, and I suspect quite strongly it was possibly this speed controller, maybe the battery elimination circuitry. The other thing is that there was just one part which didn't come with the sub, and it's this part here, and it's referred to in the instruction book as being a servo extension cable, and it's got 5 leads which run from the receiver, and there seems to be one wire for the ESC, the signal cable, one for the elevator, and 3 wires for the rudder. So the rudder, I think, is carrying the 5 volts to the receiver to power the receiver off the back on the speed controller. And this part here seems to have capacitors and resistors. I think it's some sort of voltage regulator, so I did manage to order one of these and get it. The postage was about 5 times the price of the part, but I put that on and I feel happy that I did. The speed controller, which I replaced the stock one with, is actually an Mtroniks submarine one. I think it's called a Sub10, which runs at 12 volts and has got thermal cutoff, etc. And I can confirm definitely that when it's got no signal, its fail-safe is to neutral, so the propeller won't turn under those circumstances. Okay. Just in case you're wondering what I'm holding the thing up with, this is actually an Apple Watch box, and it's just kind of nice to keep the thing held. I'm particularly concerned about not straining this pipe work here, because I don't want the submarine pumping water into itself. I want it going into the ballast bag. The next thing to do is to put all of this into the main tube. I'll go get that in a sec. Just before I do, I just thought I would mention what I've done with the aerial wires. I've put the 40 meg wire, which is quite a long one, into these slots, which seem to be for the purpose. So hopefully that will give me some sort of range. You can see here the servo extension cable with the 5 wires in it going up into the receiver. I'm using a Futaba 136F 6 channel receiver. I couldn't really see much point in leaving an 8 channel one in there, so hopefully that will be okay. I'll be back in a moment with the tube. Okay, here we have the tube, and with a bit of luck, it's, well, I'll start by unplugging this end stuff here, because it kind of doesn't need to be on there just now. This is the main control unit, with the fuse and the place where you charge and the on-off switches. I think that they call this the power distribution board. But right, here goes. Just feed it on a little bit at a time, I think. Right, it's good. Everything seems to be in. These are the wires for the motor, so I'll have those posting through. There's plenty of excess on these servo wires, so I'll just pop them there. that's it. Everything seems to be sitting quite nicely. So that's okay. The next thing for me to do is to post the whole of this unit onto the main frame. I'll just do that now. Without it all falling out. There we are. So everything good so far. And just to hold things in place, I'll just pop some of these washers and nuts on. One. One good trick I've found when you've got this sort of situation is if you put two nuts in, then the one at the end will protrude and you can easily get it to bite, or you should easily be able to get it to bite onto a thread. There you go. Now I'm very conscious that I don't want to do any of these up tightly. I'll just put the rest of them in. Right, after much fiddling, I've got the tube on, and these here are supposed to have some movement in them, and I've been adjusting the various nuts so that that's about even. That means that when I put the halves of the body on, they kind of lie at the right place. There are some screw holes here, there and there, which it will screw onto afterwards, and if I want the nose cone and the tail to sit nicely, I'm thinking that that needs to be about even. If it isn't, I'll adjust it up afterwards. It doesn't take very long. Now the next job to do before it gets too dark is to fit the new motor. So the first thing that I'm going to do, as I usually do, is get some Corrosion X lubricant into each bearing while I can get to them. That's that. I do like this new motor. So that is that. Now if I look at the old motor, the way that the dog bone sits in, it needs to go right to the end. So because I got two new of these things, I'm going to use a new one. It says in the instructions to use Loctite. They come with little, I think they're M3 glove screws, so I'll get those out. Here we go, there's one. Just going to use some some Tamiya Loctite. That means that if I ever want to get it out, I probably can. Get that in. Now I've left the old one on the old motor, just really so that I can be confident that I managed to get it into the same place. I hope this fits. Oh dear. I'm sure it will. Do it a bit more. We seem to have a slight problem here. Let's take that one a second. Let's just compare motors. Right, it seems to be quite a tight fit on that. And comparing the two motors, it looks to me as if we've got two quite different shaft lengths. So I'm going to have to have a quick go with the drummer, I think. Back in a moment. Right, you'll see that we seem to be at about the same level, and I've put a flat on it with the Dremel as well. So we'll just try that in a second. And with the help of the vise, where I was pushing on both this back pin and the front here, so I wasn't going to put any strain on anything inside the motor. We've got it on. I'm not entirely sure we really need the grub screw, but it's all very tight. Put it on anyway, and we seem to be in business, and I can see that the shaft in there isn't protruding into anything that will upset the dog bone. Right, so that's that end. Now the other end of things, we have the prop shaft. Okay, and again, we don't want anything protruding. I will, hopefully this will go, yes, this is a much easier fit. So again, grub screw, okay. Some thread lock on. Put him in the hole, like so. And the new drive shaft is this one here. This is the one with the thread on the end of it. I know where I want that to go. Let's go there. Just give it a little tighten. Good, that's not going yet. Right, now the next thing to do is to grease up this unit here. Now there's a rubber seal at the end which seems to be in okay condition. and what they tell you to do is they tell you to fill it 1/3 with grease. I bought this marine grease, which is I think it's a Horizon Hobby product, and this screwdriver here is quite a reasonable fit, and so if I just measure it quickly, distance there is 3 centimeters. So what I'm going to want is if I want to fill it 1/3, that means that the screwdriver needs to only go in by 2 centimeters. I find 10mm masking tape quite a useful thing for marking things with sometimes. So just get my ruler. Measure off 2 centimeters. Put my tape round like that. So what I'm going to want to do, put grease in the hole, push that till it's 2. The grease will the spare grease will come out of the back there. So I'll get some kitchen towel. Then that should be enough grease. So let's give it a go and see what happens. That seems to be a goodly amount of grease. I really don't mind wasting a little bit of this. Not very expensive, the Submarine is. Right, so screwdriver, push it in till we hit the tape. There we go. So I assume that's probably about the right amount of grease. White things slightly, and then just take these bits off the end of the prop shaft. We won't need those until we've got the tail on, and push that through and get the dog bone there, which I certainly don't want to lose again. So take the motor, there we go. I think that seems to be okay. There's a little bit of movement, but certainly not too much. Right. Next thing to do is to put the screws in here and put the back plate on. Right, so I've plugged the motor in, put this back plate on, and these are rather like doing up the wheels on a car. You have to kind of do the pattern where you tighten one, then the opposite one, then the one on the other side, then the other side, then opposite again, and you just go around until the seal here is nice and tight. These plastic bits go on the top and bottom first, because that's what the cone attaches with. So I'll just put these on. I've got a feeling that this shaft, even though I chopped it down, is going to be a little bit long. If it is, the prop will go on there. If it is, I'll just Dremel it down a bit. So it's getting very dark here, so I'll have to stop filming soon, but seem to be making quite good progress. Done. And then the rudder goes on. You just need to thread this into its hole, like so. And I would say I'm definitely have to take a little bit off that. Well, hopefully that's enough. Let's just get that again. Yeah, we seem to be turning nicely. Oh, one thing that I would definitely recommend is not testing the motor unless this is held properly, because I have a feeling that's how I might have damaged the previous motor. It's very easy to have an impatient moment when you're doing this sort of thing and then regret it. I would say that we're not fouling. No, that is just about perfect. Yeah, that's quite a good job there. Yeah, that is absolutely perfect. It did sound a bit desperate. Let's see. No smoke coming out, and I'm able to turn it really slowly. It's never going to break any speed records. So I'm pleased with that. Great.